You're watching the American Conference on ESPN. It never feels like winter in Tampa. Another gorgeous day near the Bay. We are inside the Sun Dome for a matchup between two teams who have been tested in many ways this year. USF, the only winless team in American Conference play, hosting Connecticut. Ted Emmerich and former Boston College standout Malcolm Huckabee with you. Now, the Huskies started 0-3 in the league. They have won 3 of their last 4, and they depend so much on their point guard, Jalen Adams.
Yeah, the talented sophomore from Roxbury, Mass. Does a little bit of everything for UConn. Right now, he's 11th in all of college basketball, averaging close to 7 assists per game. And in his last outing, you look at those numbers, 19, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. He's a key player for UConn and a guy they can ill afford not to have on the court.
Especially since UConn is down to 6 scholarship players. Lost 3 to injuries for the season. 2 more sitting out tonight. Jawan Durham, as well as Stephen Enoch. UConn controls wearing the navy, USF in the white. Here's Jalen Adams giving it up down to the corner. Freshman Vance Jackson launches. He has been on fire as of late from the perimeter.
Yeah, USF starts out in a 2-3 matchup zone, and you're right. He is the one guy they need to find on the three-point line, over 50% from beyond the arc. I would say that is en fuego.
Gino Thorpe trying to answer, and Jackson corrals the rebound. Jackson has hit 12 of his last 23s, spanning the last 5 games. Purvis on the wing can light it up like few can in the American. Kenton Facey also on a roll as of late. 3 double-doubles in his last 4.
And that's a good sign if you're UConn. Fast start, something that has plagued them, and that's beautiful execution on offense against the zone defense. 2 times now for UConn.
See the numbers for Facey. He had 2 double-doubles combined his first 3 seasons with the Huskies. Down to 8 to shoot for Thorpe. USF's leading scorer. Bo Ziegler trying to muscle his way to the bucket, and he walked. Kevin Ollie is the head coach for Connecticut. Of course, the former Husky himself. Spent more than a decade in the NBA. In his 5th year, national championship winning coach 3 years ago. And he's been trying to stay positive through this season. It's hard to. You don't expect UConn 3 games below 500 at this point. But he says, hey, this is a character-building season. Brima dunks the lob from Adams. And a timeout for South Florida. 1 minute and 40 seconds into this one.
And we might have a SportsCenter top 10 nominee just that quick. Adams with the beautiful find and finish. My goodness. Right here again, this is just excellent ball movement against the zone. Make the extra pass, and again, a guy that's shooting over 51% in league play. And then right here, Jalen Adams, we talked about him in the top 11th in all of college basketball, close to 7 assists per game, and that one right there was beautiful.
Jalen Adams, preseason second-team all-conference. He's making a bid for most improved player in the league. The way his numbers have jumped from his freshman year to now as a sophomore. Not really a true point guard either, but he's filling that role capably.
Credit Kevin Alley. Again, people talk about his recruiting. Yes, he does a great job bringing in talented players, but I look at how guys have developed under him. That's the sign of a good coach. He's done an excellent job with this talented sophomore guard.
Thorpe's in trouble. No over and back because of the deflection. USF comes away with it. Tulio Da Silva blocked on his way to the rim, but a blocking foul is called. On the other side, Murray Bartow is the interim head coach for South Florida as Brima is assessed the foul. And Da Silva will have free throws for the Bulls. Here is Murray Bartow, lots of experience. He was hired as an assistant in August and then took over for Oliver Antigua when he was fired January 3rd. So when Orlando Antigua was fired, Bartow takes over, 3 weeks on the job. He's lost his first 5 games. South Florida on the scoreboard. Purvis looking inside. Facey trying to dump it down, and Guerrero comes away with the steal for USF. UConn
right now in man-to-man, and You'll see them switch defenses throughout this game as well.
De Silva along 2. De Silva showing off his range.
That time the closeout pour, and De Silva making them pay. Nice little action that time by USF, getting a good offensive opportunity.
Adams around the screen from Facey. Over Guerrero, the 7-footer, and Adams converts.
He can get in the lane all day. We talked about his talent on the top. He's a guy that can assist, but that what makes him special. Behind the back, off the split, and a beautiful mid-range game that time by Jalen Adams.
UConn's been hounding Thorpe so far. Here's Holston, 3-point gunner. Now De Silva. 7 on the timer for Holston. He can jack it up, decides to drive. Thorpe at the end of the shot clock. A fresh 30. Guerrero the hook. USF has struggled to score all year. Holston a deep 3 offline. And Jackson the rebound. Holston took 16 3-pointers in USF's last game against Tulsa Saturday.
Yeah, he's definitely got the green light. And speaking with Coach Pardo, he said, look, they just need to have something positive happen. They've had some good looks, as they did on that last possession. They just need to get a couple of those to fall down for them.
Just 1 for 5 so far are the Bulls. Facey lost the handle. USF has numbers. Thorpe blocked by Adams, but a foul. Good start for UConn. Gino Thorpe is headed to the line after the timeout.
Jalen Adams showing off the behind the back pull-up. UConn off to an early start.
Hey, Bulls fans, especially students, have you guys
ESPN is presentation of college basketball brought to you by One A Day Men's and Women's and Samuel Adams. Pursue better.
Of turmoil in Tampa. This mass exodus starting last spring. Starters Ronnie Peters, Chris Perry dismissed. Then assistant Oliver Antigua resigning amid an NCAA investigation into academic fraud. Then in December, South Florida's best player Jamal McMurray decides to transfer. And then finally head coach Orlando Antigua fired January 3rd. And so Murray Bartow is the new head coach on the interim basis as we welcome you courtside. Ted Emmerich and Malcolm Huckabee, former BC standout with you, and it's a nightmare situation. There's no doubt about that, but at the very least, the Bulls have made some strides under Bartow, even though the scoreboard hasn't really shown that.
Yeah, really unfortunate situation, and I'll say off the top, Orlando Antigua, I consider him a friend. Played against him when he was a player at Pitt. We stayed in contact. Obviously, you wish him well. I'm sure he'll be fine, but your concern right now is the young men that are out there for USF, and they've had some success. Now they're starting to play a little better the last 4 games, but again, certainly not an ideal situation for the school and also for the players that are out there right now.
Just not much experience for South Florida. No seniors on the roster. Penn State, Bradley, and UT Rio Grande Valley, the only other Division I teams without a senior on the roster. And the coming and going, Peters and Perry dismissed, McMurray transferring, that's really the mark in the Orlando Antigua era. Since Stan Heath was the head coach, 13 players who had eligibility remaining either departed the program or were dismissed. Just no continuity. Holston for 3. It's around and out. It's tough to build a program when you have new faces every single year. Facey with the deuce for UConn.
Well, we've seen early in this game some nice passing by UConn. That has been a key theme that they've worked on today. We saw them in shoot-around, breaking down the changing defenses by USF. And they've done a nice job early on in this game, getting some high-percentage shots.
Malik Fitz returning from injury, just had his shot swatted by one of the nation's premier rim protectors, Amita Brima.
Well, right now, UConn is 10th in the nation, close to 6 blocks per game, 5.9. And that man right there is a big reason why. He is one of the premier rim protectors in all of college basketball.
Brima Brima averages 3 blocks a game himself, first in the American. Michael Bibby in the game. The substitution missed the 3. And Rodney Purvis and UConn will take it.
Brima does a nice job at timing it. And I go back to my freshman year in the Big East. Georgetown had Dikembe Mutombo and Alonzo Mourning, and they punched a fair share of my shots into the stands. Excellent timing, but the key thing for him, he must not foul. That's been something that has plagued him. He must stay out of foul trouble, in particular with this short bench for UConn.
Did Dikembe ever whack the finger at you?
That was pre-fat finger wag.
No finger wagging there. Jalen Adams, the 3-pointer. He could put up 3 fingers in the air, and UConn has a 10-point lead. Foul on Rodney Purvis for Connecticut.
15, Rodney Purvis, his first, team's third.
Tomorrow night at 8 Eastern on ESPN. About this in the ACC. 9th-ranked North Carolina and Virginia Tech in Chapel Hill. Also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. North Carolina having won 6 in a row. Of course, what a wild night we had last night across college basketball. Number 1, number 2, number 4 going down. Little March Madness in January.
I had Gonzaga against St. Mary's a few weeks prior, and I'm going back out to Spokane and see some nice ball movement by USF, but I said it on air, I think they're going to eventually wind up as number 1 in the country just because of their scheduling. St. Mary's obviously is one team out there that can contend with them, but other than that, there's really not much harm in their way on the schedule.
Michael Bibby, the son of former NBA player Mike Bibby, of course the grandson of Henry Bibby. His dad Mike is here tonight. Jackson off the mark from the outside this time, and here comes Bibby. 3rd generation. Backup point guard directing traffic.
Played for his dad in high school. Had a chance to speak with him prior to the game, and certainly he's enjoying watching his son out here perform.
Malik Fitz pulls the trigger and knocks down the 3. South Florida much better from downtown this year compared to last, when they were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country. Christian Vital in the game, as Jalen Adams has a rare breather. He's already at the scorer's table to check back in. Vital couldn't hit, and here comes South Florida. Thorpe, Penn State transfer. Fitz, the freshman, to the rack. Wild shot. Luis Santos corrals it. Santos with another opportunity, and he finally puts it home.
That's just great effort on the offensive glass. Basically cleared everybody out. Big boy rebound and putback. You can see why Coach Ollie wants Jalen Adams back into the game.
South Florida scored the last 8 points. Brima a travel before any foul.
Well, we talked about the effort in the last 4 games, and none better right here on the offensive glass. 2 UConn players around. Get it back and then put it back up with authority. That's just a great individual effort on the offensive glass.
Santos is a load at 266 pounds from the Bronx. Pass intended for him here. Knocked out. And here's Vital. Jackson got Fitz off his feet to the corner. Adams a teardrop. Right back in the game and already making an impact.
Well, he makes it look so easy. You've seen earlier the behind the back pull up, and then that time the floater, the mid-range game. That's something that you can tell with the guard. If they have that, he is so difficult to guard because he's so quick, so explosive getting into the lane.
Fitz decides to shoot, rejecting the screen. USF could have used something better there as Vital brings it the other way. UConn going for back-to-back wins for only the 3rd time this season. Brima had it knocked out of his hands going up. Gino Thorpe a pull-up 3. UConn with the 4-point lead. Adams sprinting in transition, another floater for the sophomore.
Well, I was speaking with Kevin Ollie at shoot-around this morning, and we laughed. We were both happy that we were not playing anymore and trying to keep this guy out of the lane. He is so explosive. He can get in the lane virtually anytime he wants, and if he continues to shoot floaters in that mid-range game like that, watch out. He is going to be unguardable.
Thorpe kick out. Bibby, his second three-pointer. South Florida within 3.
That stroke looks awfully familiar. You can talk to his dad, the Arizona star and NBA veteran. Very proud to see his son out here performing at this level.
Adams attacking again. Got a fingertip on it. That's going to South Florida. But Adams has scored half of his team's points already.
Well, early in this game, it has been the Jalen Adams show, showing off the mid-range game right here. Floater, UConn up 3.
Connecticut went up 10 early, but thanks to Michael Bibby and the 3-ball, USF is within 3 now. Bibby is at the hot hand.
Yeah, and it's off of excellent ball movement. That time, penetrate, draw 2 defenders, and then kick it out. And that's a nice offensive possession for USF.
And his dad, Mike, is in attendance here at the Sun Dome in Tampa. Of course, Mike playing more than a decade and a half in the NBA, national champion at Arizona, All-American with the Wildcats, and also his son's head coach in high school at Shadow Mountain in Phoenix. Won a couple of state championships. Last year, Michael Bibby was the Arizona High School Player of the Year.
Yeah, and after I had that talk with his dad, I asked him, I said, has he beat you yet? He laughed. He said, absolutely not, and he will never beat me. And even if he thought he was good enough, I would hack and hold if I couldn't guard him. And that is how I feel with my boys as well, too. But certainly he is proud out here watching his son, who he coached in high school, perform, and looks exactly like him, runs like him, and that same stroke as well, too.
Christian Vital, another freshman, showing off his stroke for Connecticut. A 21-15 lead. Vital's playing more minutes than the Huskies imagined this year because of all the injuries. Vital from Queens Village, New York. De Silva hit a long 2 earlier. This is too strong. Santos competing for it. Spills out to Holston. Ziegler dumps it to De Silva for 2.
Well, how USF has stayed in this game, those 50-50 balls, those hustle plays, they seem to be going their way in this last 5-minute stretch, and that's another second chance opportunity for USF.
It's been a trademark here in 3 weeks under interim coach Murray Bartow. More energy, more hustle. Kickball here by Bo Ziegler. Saturday at 6:15 Eastern on ESPN, the Sonic blockbuster, Kansas and Kentucky. Both falling yesterday. Oh, they're going to be angry. Can't wait for this on ESPN. Also streaming live on the ESPN app. And watch ESPN, the 2 winningest programs in college basketball history.
Yeah, I can't wait for that game right there. Frank Mason, Devontae Graham of Kansas, and then you got Malik Monk for Kentucky. I'll tell you what, that is going to be a fun game to watch.
Here a 6-point lead for UConn. Ziegler penetrating, setting up Holston for the 3. South Florida has 5 threes as a team in this first half.
We're going to take a look at, again, excellent ball movement. Drive baseline and kick it to the opposite corner for a 3, and 4 closeout by UConn. And, you know, going back to what we talked about at the tip, they've been getting open looks in these games. They just haven't had any success knocking down shots. That is not the case here now in this first half for USF.
Vance Jackson trying to get inside. Foul is called. That's something that Murray Bartow told us earlier today. We've just got to run better offense. We can't turn it over like we've been doing. UConn is going to run at will if we just have bad possessions at the offensive end. That's something that they haven't been able to do consistently, is score at a high level, but so far tonight, those shots are falling.
Yeah, and also the turnover, we talked about it. The gave up against Tulsa off of turnovers. And that's going to be a key theme in this game, not giving up any points off of turnovers to UConn.
Vance Jackson is at the line. Back-to-back American Conference Rookie of the Week awards for Jackson. Makes it a 5-point game.
UConn goes back into the zone, matchup zone.
Kevin Ollie has played more zone this year than any of the previous 4 as the head coach, and go back to the Jim Calhoun days. The zone is something you don't normally see. As De Silva shoots over it from the free throw line.
Yeah, De Silva continues to knock down shots, and a big reason for the zone is try to get some of these guys a breather. You look at Jalen Adams and Rodney Purvis for UConn. They're in the top 10 in all of college basketball for minutes played. So certainly with that short bench, you're going to have to change up your Ds.
Vital teeing up another 3, and he knocks it down again. Vital just a 29% three-point shooter coming into the game.
I think the key thing is they are wide open looks. Right now, USF is going to have to go out and get a hand up on them. Too much airspace from beyond the arc.
Trying to feed De Silva, and Vital is called for the reach-in. 6-point lead for UConn. Approaching the 7-minute mark, Christian Vital has a couple of threes for the Huskies. That's the margin here in Tampa. UConn has a 28-22 lead here in Tampa. Ted Emmerich, Malcolm Huckabee with you. So Murray Bartow, USF's interim coach, wanted crisper offensive play. He's gotten it so far.
Yeah, they have executed in the half court. Right here, you take a look at penetrate, kick out to a wide open three-point shooter. And then right here, good ball movement, dribble drive, break down the D, and then kick it to the corner for an open three-point shooter. And you look at these statistics right here. 5 games, you look at the numbers, 14 assists per game. And then you look at it before Bartow, and that number was down. So you're seeing it tonight. 7 assists in this game, and the key number, only 3 turnovers. That is key for USF.
Bartow says, even though we've lost all 5 games that I've coached, taking over for Orlando Antigua, I've made sure to show my players tape of how they are getting better, even though the results don't show it on the scoreboard at the end of the night. Bibby looking for his 3rd three-pointer. Give it to him.
And that was beyond the NBA range right there. Not really bad D. I don't think they were expecting him to fire from that deep, but now they're going to have to change it. And we almost had another SportsCenter top 10 nominee. Beautiful alley-oop set-up play, but the pass was a little off. And right here, showing off the range for his dad and the stands.
Down the weave, Bibby decides to drive. Dumping it down for the bucket, Bo Ziegler.
And that's all set up because Bibby knocked down 2 threes. You have to challenge him now. Good job putting the ball on the floor. A nice little dump-off pass for the deuce.
Fitz with the deflection. South Florida has played a good first half so far. 6 minutes to go. The question now is, can they sustain this? That has been the trouble spot, not just this year or even just under Murray Bartow, but really the last 3 years.
Right now for UConn, I think they have to get back to breaking down the zone as they were early on in this game and take a look at another turnover. USF has done a nice job being more active in that zone. Remember, in that first really 5 to 6 minutes of this game, UConn had their way on the offensive end, and that has not been the case in this last 4 or 5 minute stretch.
Bo Ziegler fumbled the pass from Bibby. Bo Ziegler's a high flyer.
See if UConn gets somebody to that high post area. That's where you want to break the zone down.
There's Kenton Facey. Brian with the tip. No. Facey another shot at it, and a foul is called.
Nice.
That'll go against Ruben Guerrero.
That's a nice job again by UConn. How you want to break down the zone in that high post area. If they don't come to you, do exactly what Facey did. Try to drive the ball. But that's how you have to break down the zone against USF.
Facey was just a bit rotation player as a junior. Played about 13 minutes a night. He misses the first free throw. But now he's their leading rebounder and has become an important post presence for UConn.
And speaking with Kevin Ollie, said, look, he's really our best defensive player. Does a little bit of everything. Obviously, Brima is the anchor on that D, but he's a guy that can guard multiple positions and very active on the wing.
2-point lead here late in the first half in Tampa. South Florida has not won a game since December 22nd. Bibby pulls the trigger. Too long. Brima hauls down the rebound. Purvis in transition. Could not slam it, but he was fouled by Malik Fitz.
Wow. Purvis is so athletic right here. Poor transition defense by USF, and he almost walked down the house with that dunk. USF very fortunate he was not able to get an and-one situation.
Purvis changed his number here as a senior to honor his late friend, more like a brother, Tyreek Coger, who was going into his first year at Oklahoma State. Coger died in July after a workout with the team. Turns out he had an enlarged heart. Rodney said Tyreek told him about the condition over the summer. Rodney's last text was, "What time are you running?" And Tyreek never responded. Just a heartbreaking situation.
Yeah, but really enjoyed speaking with Rodney Purvis this morning at shoot around, and he talked about his mother, Shonda McNair, you know, how he moved into his house when he was 14 years old. They accepted him in, and as you said, he called him a brother. And certainly an unfortunate situation, but you know, he's honoring him now, as you said, wearing the number 15 in honor of his friend and brother.
He used to wear the number 44. Facey again near the elbow. Hook shot over Santos, grazing the rim. Comes Michael Bibby. Now on the weed, Bibby again. Holston. Holston now fires.
That's
more ball movement from USF, just couldn't cash in.
Yeah, and that was excellent. You stole my words. Good ball movement, but also good closeout by UConn. USF was very patient on that possession. UConn, though, did not give up an open look.
Jackson, the perimeter jumper, that's definitely his shot. That goes for 2 to stretch the lead to 5. Fitz high over Brima, who altered the shot. Got a second chance. And as De Silva came down with it, it'll be a turnover to UConn. Michael Bibby in South Florida down by 5 with 3.5 minutes left.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by the new Volkswagen Golf All-Track, soon to be everywhere.
With Dino Gaudio, I'm Brendan Fitzgerald. Coming up on the ESPNU Halftime Report, we check in on the American Conference. Also, the upsets from last night still have us talking. Dino, what have you seen in the first half?
Both teams playing really hard, Brendan, and UConn's zone offense, outstanding.
A lead on the road with a few minutes left. Ted, we'll see you in a few minutes.
We'll look at the American Conference standings. Cincinnati all alone at the top, the preseason favorite in the league. Check out Tulsa and UCF. Not much expected from either team. Tulsa, all the newcomers. UCF first year under Johnny Dawkins, and yet they're in the top half of the standings. And then on the other side, there's UConn and Temple, which won the regular season championship in the American a year ago. They're in the bottom half.
Yeah, obviously that's surprising, but for me, it's really all about Cincinnati. Mick Cronin has done an unbelievable job, and they are one of the best defensive clubs in all of college basketball to go along with 3 of the top players, Copain, Evans, and Kyle Washington. They are fun to watch, not fun to play against.
You think Cincinnati can make a run in March?
Absolutely.
A serious one?
I absolutely think so. I think the wild card for them, obviously, Kyle Washington. Copain, for me, is one of the best point guards in all of college basketball. Jacob Evans is talented, but Kyle Washington is a matchup nightmare. He's a guy that brings that inside presence for them, and he can create a lot of matchup problems for opposing teams.
So South Florida will have to worry about on Sunday, but first, UConn here in Tampa. Late in the shot clock. Troy Holston lines it up, halfway down. Holston 1 for 4 from the outside. Facey rejected by Luis Santos.
Nice recovery that time by Santos. Off of the feed by Adams. It was a beautiful setup. Thought he was going to have an easy deuce. But again, good recovery by Santos to block that shot.
Confidence has to be building for South Florida in a game like this. Yeah, UConn is struggling too, but playing this well against any team with the name UConn on their chests has to do wonders.
Well, shots have fallen, and that's the big thing.
Adams puts it up. Facey an offensive rebound and a travel. Another turnover for Connecticut.
Well, you like the effort by Facey, but that's one on the offensive rebound where he probably should have kicked it back out, not try to go for the deuce. He was contested. Good job getting the offensive rebound, but you got to kick that one back out.
Gino Thorpe makes his move against the trees. Facey and Brima lost it. Santos picking it up. It's a jump ball, and it'll be South Florida's ball with the alternating possession.
Basketball.
Fans here in Tampa wanted a foul. Santos did 2, but the tie-up means Thorpe will inbound from the baseline as Malik Fitz comes back on for Bo Ziegler. De Silva from the elbow. That shot has been pure in the first half from the redshirt freshman.
And that's just a breakdown by UConn. Poor communication. De Silva, as you said, has been the guy that has hurt them from the perimeter. You have to identify where the shooters are. That time out of bounds.
Silva sat out last year to get his academics in order. As Facey's fouled on his way to the rack. De Silva from Formiga, Brazil. Is on the under-17 and under-18 national teams, his home country. Moved to the U.S. just 3 years ago. Here he is settling in now, Division I college basketball player.
And I'm always amazed when you hear these stories, guys that have not been playing ball a long time. We talked about it when we had the UCF game with Taco Fall, the 7'6" center. And you know, sometimes that's a good thing where they don't pick up those bad habits early on, but it takes them a little bit longer, maybe a year or two, to develop. But certainly he is a talented player, and they're happy to have him here.
Facey makes it a 4-point game with about 90 seconds left. Thorpe picked up by Vance Jackson, who has the height advantage. Pick and roll with Santos all the way to the bucket for 2.
Well, I've been impressed with Santos. Obviously on the defensive end he's been active, but around the glass, that's a nice finish and not an easy one with the left hand.
Facey turning against Santos at the other end. 35-31 with a minute remaining.
Facey coming off a nice game against ECU where he had a double-double, 13 and 10. Nice little touch on the jump hook right there.
De Silva passing out. Here's Thorpe. Swing it around. De Silva from the corner, nothing but air this time. And UConn calls a timeout with 36.6 to go. So Kevin Ollie will talk about things with his crew. He said a couple of weeks ago, it's not like James Harden is walking through that door. We're not getting Russell Westbrook anytime. It's been a tough season. But let's look at Ollie's career. Promoted to head coach after Jim Calhoun retired 2012. First year, Ollie had to deal with a postseason ban because of low APR scores. the national championship in Arlington, Texas, 2014. UConn is a 7 seed, cutting down the nets. And then winning the American Conference tournament a year ago, even though finishing in the middle of the pack. This year, it's been a tough go. 8-11 overall, 3-4 in the league. But Ali has had a magnificent start to his head coaching career.
Well, I have nothing but respect for him. And you look at who he's played for. It started off in college, Hall of Famer, one of our colleagues, Jim Calhoun. And then you look at the pro level, Larry Brown. He talked about playing for Chuck Daly. I mean, the guy, you can go on and on and on. His experience as a player, he's bringing this now as a coach, and I put him right up there as one of the best in the business. He is that good, and I like how he develops these young guards.
Shot clock turned off. Thorpe dashing in, and the scoop is good. 2-point game. De Silva kicked it out. UConn will have 1.8 left. Adams, the hoist, rejected. Remember, he hit that shot in the American Conference Tournament quarterfinals against Cincinnati. Not here against South Florida. An encouraging first half for the Bulls. South Florida down by 2. As we head to the studio for the halftime report, South Florida in it against UConn. Here in Tampa, it's a 2-point game. Connecticut with the lead over South Florida as we get ready to start the second half from the Sun Dome. And we welcome you back courtside. Ted Emmerich and former Boston College standout Malcolm Huckabee. You said it, South Florida has not won a game in more than a month, and they're not just hanging around, they're in this one.
Yeah, they did some nice things in that first half, but it started off a little slow for them. We're going to get into the highlights a little bit right now, but in that first half, really, UConn came out on fire. Everything was going their way. Take a look at Jalen Adams. Good ball movement, and then he was showing off the mid-range game floater in the lane. It was all UConn early in this one to start it off, but then USF started knocking down shots, and a lot of that started when Bibby came into the game. 3 threes in that first half, and it was excellent ball movement, poor closeout by UConn, and USF had some nice offensive possessions to close out the half.
And how about that ball movement? The numbers show it for South Florida, the 11 assists in the first half, 16 points off the bench. Of course, UConn doesn't have much of a bench these days. It's down to a 6-man rotation because of injuries. But South Florida able to hit 5 threes in that first half. Connecticut shooting 52% from the floor themselves. And we've got a close ball game. Here's Adams. Vance Jackson inside the arc. Ball tapped out, and last touched by Gino Thorpe in South Florida. So it's a fresh 30 seconds for UConn.
Well, USF really has adjusted from that 5 to 8 minute start that they had where UConn was having their way on offense, and they've been able to contest shots and in particular keep Jalen Adams out of the lane, and that has been a key reason why they're back in this game.
Once again, Facey in the high post, driving down closer, tough hook over Ruben Guerrero, but Guerrero is assessed the foul here, the 7-footer from Spain.
And he did everything right except he extended that arm downwards. He just should have stayed straight up. Good position. Really bailed Facey out.
Mentioned Rodney Purvis dealing with tragedy before the season. Well, Ken Facey has been marked by tragedy himself. We'll take another look.
Right here, yeah, that's a clear foul. Good job by the referees. And again, if he stayed straight up, I think he had a nice chance of that ball not going in.
Facey's father, Kenneth, died in April 2015 of heart disease. And Kenton wears the ring his dad was going to use on his wedding day that December. Kenneth never got to see his son play at UConn. Something that Kevin Ollie says, hey, he learned how to get through it. He has matured, and now as a senior, he's really blossomed on the court. And he's honoring his father's legacy.
We talked to Kevin Ollie about this, and one of the things that I ultimately really respect Kevin Ollie for is the job he does with these young men off the court. Yes, he does a great job getting them ready for games and getting them to get better as basketball players. But for him, it's really about, and we talked a lot about this today, shoot around, making them better young men. And he's created a family atmosphere for these guys. And obviously there's been a lot of tragedy. We talked about Rodney Purvis, and we just talked about Facey. So, you know, certainly he does a lot of different things besides basketball with these young men in their lives.
8 on the shot clock. Santos giving it up to Thorpe. De Silva, the leaner. Off the rim. Brima couldn't control it, but a teammate does for UConn.
USF continues to stay in that zone. Let's see if UConn breaks it down again. That's the area they need to go to originally. Get to that high post area.
Rodney Purvis a brick. Purvis has only 1 point thus far. De Silva in transition. Count it, and the foul.
Well, this is an excellent job by De Silva being patient. Now right here, Jalen Adams continues to back up, not cutting off the ball. And I think he felt Purvis was going to catch up to him to cut it off, and heads up play that time by De Silva. There's an opportunity for a and one.
And De Silva finishes it off. 1 point game. South Florida has not led in this one. Adams from the corner over Ziegler. A 3.
Unselfish play that time by Jackson. Back to Adams off the penetration for a wide open 3. Excellent execution that time against the zone by UConn.
Here's De Silva spinning against Jackson, trying to dump it to Guerrero. Knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with South Florida, 14 to shoot.
And that's what you're going to have to do, going back to that previous offensive possession by UConn. You can't float the ball around against the zone. You're going to have to attack it, whether it's getting the ball to the high post off the pass or dribble penetration to break down the zone.
Purvis comes out. Holston for 3. Troy Holston trying to catch fire for South Florida. Cuts the deficit to 1 again. Adams in the lane. Tip no. De Silva comes away with the board for South Florida. And Gino Thorpe backs it out. Penn State transfer. And he's fouled by the freshman Christian Vitale. Can't believe that call.
Well, you like the aggressive nature by Vitale, but you definitely don't want to foul that far away from the basket.
Foul trouble has not been an issue so far in this one for UConn. Vitale now with 2 personals, though. Holston, catch and shoot. This time a 2, and South Florida has its first lead tonight.
That was excellent spacing on that down screen right there. Not much help by the big.
Jackson fumbled it, but a whistle away from the ball.
Well, we talked about Troy Holston. He's a guy that can light it up. And right here, again, off the down screen, that big for UConn needs to help on that down screen. That time it was not there, and Holston made them pay. And he's a volume shooter. We talked about his 3-point shooting. He took 16 in their last game, 5 for 16. So you know he's got the green light.
He shot it 20 times in all against Tulsa over the weekend. Jackson can shoot as well. He gives UConn the lead right back.
He continues to impress. We talked about the Rookie of the Weeks 2 times in the American Conference, and he just continues to shoot the ball lights out from beyond the arc.
That's his second 3. Vance Jackson. Fitz and Thorpe back and forth, and Gino Thorpe connects from long distance. Back and forth, UConn and South Florida go. Facey in traffic. Now Vance Jackson off balance, and Luis Santos is called for the foul. South Florida has the edge at home, looking for their first conference win of the season. 1-point lead early second half.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Angry Orchard Hard Cider. Branch out.
Early second half, Michael Bibby and South Florida holding a 1-point lead over Connecticut. And we are joined by a very special guest. His name is also Bibby. Yeah, he's Michael's dad, Mike Bibby, of course, the longtime NBA veteran. Thanks so much
for joining us
here courtside.
Thank you for having me.
What a job by your son thus far, hitting 3 3-pointers. This team, you just said it during the break, they have played their best here so far in this first half plus against UConn.
They're playing good. They're playing real good. They always play good, I think, when the ball's moving and they play together, you know, and get a chance and get the open shot instead of taking tough shots. When they get the easy shot, you know, they seem to go in most of the time. So they're playing good right now.
Now, you coached him in high school, but you also talked about him as a young man. You had him in the gym as early as 6 years old. What are some of the things you talked to him about going into his freshman year?
Just be, you know, play the way you play. You know, be confident. You know, you worked hard enough to be here, and you know, don't get there and get scared, and you know, just play basketball. You know, he's been doing this his whole life. He's been around it his whole life. So, you know, just go out there and do what you do. You know, Michael Jordan had a quote that I sent to him, you know, that you practice for this. And, you know, when you get out there, you know, it's okay to be nervous a little bit. Once the blood starts flowing, you know, you got to get into it. It's what you do.
Now, I asked you this as well, too, but hopefully you can share this with the folks on air. Has he beat you yet in a game of one-on-one?
No, he the last time I played him, he was probably 14, 15 years old. It was close, but, you know, he had already worked out. And, you know, I just opened some boxes from, you know, from Brand Jordan. So, you know, I was just getting, you know, I was still a little bit stiff. And he shot a lot of threes. He hit the threes. You know, once he got close, I had to, you know, kind of play old man strength game on him and, you know, be physical with him and stuff like that. So, but I still don't even think he could beat me now to this day, even if we go out there. He says I'm scared to go out there and play him. But, you know, at my age, you know, I really don't want to go out there and work that hard. So.
I know Michael has overcome injuries already early in his career. Back in high school, a couple of knee surgeries as Michael comes back on. How was he able to move past those surgeries and obviously the disappointment where the offers that he probably thought would have been there, considering how well he played in high school, weren't there?
I think it got a little bit blown out of proportion. You know, he did the meniscus twice, but, you know, we weren't told that if you repair a meniscus that there's like a 50% chance of tearing again. But we took him to LA, and we had a good doctor do his surgery out there. And, you know, the doctor compared it to a hangnail. So, you know, I mean, a lot of people probably got it in the misconception that it was bad, but it wasn't bad at all. You know, the doctor compared it to a hangnail, and, you know, we clipped it. He had enough meniscus left to play. The doctor said probably 2 or 3 weeks he could come back. So we drove home from California that day. The same day of his surgery, he was fine. He got out, was walking on crutches. You know, the doctor said, you know, 3 weeks. And if you want him to play in 3 weeks, he could play in 3 weeks. But, you know, we kept him, tried to get his legs strong to where it didn't happen again. And, you know, his legs been strong ever since.
Mike, we appreciate the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Michael Bibby in South Florida, down 4 here in the second half. We just had a chance to visit with Mike Bibby, but it starts with the patriarch, Henry Bibby, part of that UCLA dynasty, and then a distinguished NBA career. He won a national title and an NBA championship. Mike Bibby won a national title at Arizona, also an All-American in 1998, then 14 seasons in the NBA. Such a blast to watch those Kings teams. Now the third generation Michael Bibby, the freshman with South Florida, 3 of 5 from downtown, and South Florida is down by 4 here in the second half. But that threesome right there, that's fun to watch.
Yeah, it really is, and obviously a lot of talent in that bloodline right there. And the young Michael right here, big reason why South Florida is in this game with those 3 big threes in the first half.
And a foul right out of the timeout. And Bibby commits the foul. Now Michael signed late. It was in August. After some teams were scared off by the 2 knee surgeries we talked about with his dad. But he's become a key part of the rotation for South Florida in his first year.
Bulls foul number 42, Luis Santos has his third.
Now Santos picks up a foul for South Florida.
Let's see how UConn attacks this zone. See if they can break it down again and get a shot either in that high post area or on the perimeter.
Here's Vance Jackson from the corner. And a foul on the floor. That's on to Silva. Number 2 on the freshman. Third foul on South Florida in the last half minute or so. Connecticut has been shooting it well, but the zone has given them some issues from time to time here tonight.
And again, when they've broken it down with dribble penetration and looks on the perimeter, that has been their best offense. But I'll give South Florida credit. They have contested shots late in that first half, and it's continued in this second.
Purvis, finger roll, plus the foul. UConn needs him to get going. Only 1 point up to this point.
Well, he is so strong. That time right there, take the hit on the arm and finish. And we talked about the minutes that both he and Jalen Adams played. Both of them top 10 in all of college basketball in minutes played. And you are absolutely right. They need to have those 2 on the floor, but more importantly, be productive. And they need to see more of that in the second half from Purvis.
Nearly 1,400 points in his career, combining his 1 year at NC State and then his time at UConn.
He's joined some pretty good company in UConn history. Became the 49th player to score over 1,000 points. And that's certainly something that not too many people can say. Again, only 49 have done it, and he joins that club.
Holston missing the 3 for South Florida. Here's Purvis with it on the wing. Skip it to Adams. USF remaining in that zone as Kevin Ollie barks out the instructions from the sideline. Adams over Holston, rims out. Brima, the offensive board, blocked by Fitz. Here's Holston attacking for South Florida.
Well, that time Brima got a offensive rebound, and again, you see that a lot in college basketball. If you have an open look, that's fine, but sometimes it's better to kick the ball back out. That time he forced his shot up, which led to a USF fast break.
Vital lining one up. Another 3-pointer for the freshman. He's got 4 of them tonight.
Well, he has been a X factor for UConn. We talked about the short bench. He's hit some big shots, and I really like his energy and aggressiveness on the defensive end as well.
UConn applying the pressure. Now Thorpe runs the play. And Vital is called for a foul here.
Well, the freshman, Christian Vital, giving UConn a boost. UConn up 54-46.
The 2 winningest programs in the history of the sport. Run, baby, run. What a capper for a great SEC Big 12 challenge.
This is going to be a blockbuster.
They most certainly will clash. Number 2 Kansas, number 4 Kentucky, 6:15 Eastern, Saturday on ESPN. The 2 winningest programs in NCAA history. Kentucky with the edge. How about that backcourt battle that's on the way between the Wildcats and Jayhawks?
I cannot wait to watch that game. That is going to be fun. You can't go wrong with either one of those 2, but I like a little slight edge to Kansas just because of their experience. Devontae Graham, I tell you what, he is one of the best in the business. should be fun.
Both teams coming off losses on the road as well. Part of the SEC Big 12 Challenge on Saturday. Out of the timeout, Bo Ziegler scores for South Florida, which had the lead briefly earlier in this second half for UConn. Was able to balloon ahead with a Christian Vital 3. Vital with 4 3-pointers, one of 4 Huskies in double figures. Here's Jalen Adams, their star point guard. 5 to shoot. Rodney Purvis from the perimeter.
Well, Jalen Adams is so unselfish, and you can see why. He's 11th in all of college basketball, close to 7 assists per game. That time, penetrate, break down the defense, and then kick it out to a wide open shooter. Excellent basketball that time.
And now a travel on Ziegler. South Florida has been pretty careful with the ball for the most part. But a key turnover here. Can't let the game get away midway through the second half.
Yeah, and this is really that danger area for USF where, as you said, you can't let the game get away from you. And a lot of it has to do with turnovers. Careless turnovers that lead to easy transition buckets for the opposition.
USF turns it over more than any team in the American. 16 per game, 9 so far tonight. Facey looking for Bryma, decides to take the shot himself. Off the rim, and Luis Santos rips it down. Gino Thorpe has been much more of a facilitator than scorer so far tonight for USF. Here's Holston. He might take the shot from there. A little closer, and there is where he drills it.
Well, not bad defense, but just better offense that time by Holston. A contested NBA 3. It's nothing but net, and it was a big one for USF.
Now a turnover by UConn. De Silva has the steal for the Bulls. Thorpe with 9 assists tonight for USF. Dishes to Holston. Holston wants another one. A heat check 3 this time. Short. Offensive rebound. Now Thorpe around Santos. Zigging and zagging. De Silva. And Bryma comes down with the rebound.
Nice block out that time by Bryma.
Adams, another gear, just flips it up. That didn't fall. And as Bo Ziegler came down with it, the officials look at each other. Carl Hess and Tony Henderson. One signaled a foul. One was asking, is that a jump ball?
Well, there's a lot of contact right there on that drive. And yeah, that's a tough call right there. And I think Kevin Ollie has a good reason to be upset.
That turns out to be a foul on Kent Facey. Just the 4th team foul against UConn. Now kick ball by Facey.
Well, De Silva's trying to enter the ball that time from the top of the key. He needs to take 1 or 2 more dribbles over to the left or reverse the ball to the wing and then enter the ball into the post.
Thorpe being watched by Vital. Now Holston got Adams off his feet. Couldn't hit the 3. But Santos keeps it alive. He's been working hard down low all night. Thorpe penetrating and rejected. Amita Bryma slamming the door in his face.
Jalen Adams was talking to him about keeping possession. Now, couldn't see from that angle, but this is one right here where if he can keep possession, yes, it looks nice for the cameras, but if he could have kept possession after blocking that shot, that would have been better for UConn.
Santos in the lane. 4-point game, USF not going away.
Santos has done some really nice things for USF. That time, nice little foul line jumper. He's been very active on the glass.
Adams taking it to the rim, and he draws the foul. Adams will have free throws after the timeout. Connecticut is in a fight here in Tampa. Under 8 minutes to play here in Tampa. UConn holding a 4-point lead over USF. The Bulls are hanging around. Tulio da Silva, the redshirt freshman from Brazil. Big reason, right? He's shown some nice touch on his jump shot.
Yeah, he's done some really nice things. Right here, you're going to see off of some excellent ball movement, knocking down the jumper. And we've seen this by USF. And then hand down right here by UConn. He makes them pay, and then he's been very active on the defensive end, in particular on the defensive glass. He came into this game 7th in the conference, close to 8 rebounds per game, and then this right here finishing off after the excellent defensive possession. He has been a key guy in this game for USF.
He almost got blocked by the rim, but that didn't bother him.
And I think he thought at that transition possession right there that Adams was going to step up and cut off the ball, and nobody did that. He just kept going. I think he was surprised that he was so open going to the basket.
That undersized power forward for USF at 6'7". He's been a big contributor here tonight. As Jalen Adams is at the line out of the timeout for UConn. Connecticut has won only back-to-back games, just twice so far this season. Trying to do it for a 3rd time tonight after their win over East Carolina on Sunday. This is really a key stretch for UConn. 3 teams in a row that are below them in the conference standings. They beat ECU here against South Florida, then against Tulane in their next one. UConn needs to be able to get back to above the surface in conference play and start treading water. Malik Fitz too strong for USF.
That time UConn changed up the defense, extended their defense, came up with a defensive stop.
Mattel wants his 5th three-pointer, and he has it. He was a great shooter in high school, but has struggled from beyond the arc so far this season. Not tonight. 5 of 6 from downtown.
Well, he is the X factor in this game, and Kevin Ollie's talked about, yes, we've had a short bench, but the guys that are out there, the 5 or 6 that are playing, have produced. And you look at this right here. This is just excellent ball movement set up by Jalen Adams again. Unselfish, no closeout, and the freshman making them pay. On fire from beyond the arc tonight.
Holston on the drive, switching hands, could not convert. Adams in transition, ahead to Rodney Purvis, who lofts it up, and he's fouled.
Well, Ted, I've been impressed with Adams' basketball IQ. Now, it might be a little thing to most folks, but he gave the ball up early so Purvis can get it and do something with it. A lot of guys would have taken an extra dribble and then tried to make that pass. Immediately, he looked up and shot the ball up to Purvis where he could get into a scoring position. Nice play that time by Jalen Adams.
10-point lead for UConn as Purvis goes 1 for 2. Thorpe lost it. Facey collects it for the Huskies. UConn had a 14-4 lead early on. This is their first double-digit lead since. Adams drive and kick to Rodney Purvis, right down the chute.
Well, I've been calling his name all night, Jalen Adams. But again, yes, Purvis made the 3, but that is all set up by Jalen Adams, breaking down the defense, beautiful penetration, and then unselfish basketball to kick it out to a wide-open 3-point shooter. It's really a beautiful thing to watch.
Adams now with 9 assists for UConn. Look at the American Conference standings. Cincinnati on a 10-game winning streak. SMU now 8-1 with their win over UCF tonight. Of course, UCF there in the top half of the conference standings. Tulsa, with all the newcomers, picked 9th in the preseason, but they're a factor in the race so far.
And there's some great coaches in this conference. We've talked about that. You look at, obviously, Cincinnati, everybody chasing them, but you know, Frank, how about the job he's done with that team? UCF, Johnny Dawkins' first year, and Houston, Kelvin Sampson. So, you know, a lot of excellent coaches. You look at UConn and Temple. Obviously, a lot of folks surprised at those numbers, but again, a lot of basketball still left to be played here in this American Conference.
UConn trying to make it back to 500. Christian Vital is doing his part.
Well, he has been the key guy, the X factor for UConn in this game. From beyond the arc, he has been on fire, and USF has really done a poor job identifying him. But a lot of that is because of the penetration by Jaylen Brown. He has created wide open look after wide open look for the freshman, and he has produced.
Vital with 15 points, all from outside the arc. He has tied his season high. 15 points. He had that in the conference opener against Houston. That was a blowout loss to the Cougars at home. Jalen Adams didn't play in that game because of a concussion. But here in this one, Vital with 5 threes, and he's got 15. UConn with a 13-point lead. Now Vital swiping at it, knocking it out of bounds.
And he's a guy that originally committed to UNLV. And then they had a coaching change and came up here on a visit. He was very familiar with some of the players that were already on the team, and the rest is history. And he is shaping up to be in line of another long list of the great UConn guards. He's a very talented young player.
One to shoot. Bibby has to put it up. Oh, and he's fouled. Rodney Purvis hacking Bibby just before the shot clock ran out.
Well, they did everything right up until this point right here. Really no need to go for that block. He has great position. Just go straight up and force him into a difficult shot.
Bibby, an 86% free throw shooter in his freshman season, knocking down the first. So South Florida down 11. They need stops now.
You are absolutely right. They cannot trade buckets with UConn. I think this is a key possession for them.
Adams fakes it to the corner. He's looking for Vital in the opposite corner. Kicked by Thorpe. 15 to shoot. Adams an assist away from a double-double. Purvis catch and shoot. That goes down. Rodney Purvis had only 1 point at the break. He's got 13 here in the second half. Bibby with a response for South Florida. The 3-ball. USF just trying to stay within striking distance. Facey to the rim for UConn. He got around Luis Santos.
Well, because of the three-point shooting of UConn, now they have USF spread out, and that's just too easy for Facey.
Thorpe to the rim. Bryma might have got a piece of it. But USF, another chance at it. And Thorpe resets. Santos gives it back to Thorpe. Now Bibby. De Silva matched up with Facey. And De Silva lost it. A steal by Vital. Ahead to Adams, who was ready to throw it down. And Troy Holston would have none of that. A foul.
Another turnover by USF. Right here. Turnover. Good defense by Facey. And then UConn is off to the races. And that here, it looks like De Silva went it down immediately after going behind his back. I wonder if that's cramping. It just landed awkwardly, but certainly that was a big turnover in that situation there.
Bo Ziegler will come on for De Silva. He needs to sit down as the trainer will look at his left leg. Adams does have that double-double with 15 and 10, now 16 points for the sophomore. And a timeout is called with 4:20 remaining. De Silva dealing with the leg injury. UConn starting to pull away.
Brendan Fitzgerald back in studio. Coming up next on ESPNU, Alabama at Georgia. Braxton Key and the Crimson Tide will look for a road win. They're neck and neck with the Bulldogs in the SEC standings. Less than 25 minutes from tip. Until then, back to Florida. Ted?
Brendan and Dino, thanks so much. Here in Tampa with the sharp shooting of Christian Vitale, Connecticut has left South Florida behind. 4:20 remaining, a 73-58 lead. Kevin Ollie and company trying to move to 4-4 in conference play. Been an impressive showing after South Florida took their first lead early in the second half. All Huskies since then.
Yeah, and you look at this number right here as they come up with another turnover. UConn right now in the second half, 72% from beyond the arc, 8 for 11. And 90% in the second half from the free throw line, and 63 for 3 from beyond the arc in the game total. That really has been the story of this game. They have been lights out off of great ball movement.
Vitale has 5 threes. Purvis has 3, all of them in the second half. Purvis rolling it to Facey, trying to split 2 defenders, turnaround, and blocked by Bo Ziegler. 9 to shoot for UConn. Ziegler provides all the hustle plays for USF.
Well, the effort continues to be there for USF.
Yep. And for Jalen Adams as well, splitting the lane for 2 more.
Well, his recognition really has been impressive tonight. When he's broken down the defense, he's given it up to wide open shooters that time, creating for himself.
Ziegler diving for it.
Adams now double-digit assists, 16 points, 10 assists. Really, he has been impressive for UConn in this game, and it's just fun to watch. He's unselfish. He gives it up to open players, and then when he has his opportunities, he is so explosive in his ability to finish around the basket.
You know who else was explosive back in the day? Well, you, of course, Huck, but Kevin Ollie across the way. Well, old rivals from the Big East. This from 1994, trying to check Kevin Ollie. How did that go?
It did not work out so well. I'll tell you what, a lot of fun. We joked, but with those teams, we played 3 guards, and they had Daniel Marshall and Scott Burrell, who I'm still sore guarding those guys down low in the post. And you can see he made out pretty well that time as a team, but certainly a lot of fun games back in the old Big East.
I hate to tell you this, Huck. We did look it up. You didn't beat UConn in your career, but check it out. The 4 games you played, Boston College against Connecticut, junior and senior year, every game was decided by 6 points or fewer. You went through some wars against Kevin Ollie, against Marshall and those guys.
Yeah, nothing but respect for those guys. And, you know, look, all those Big East heads that we talk about, some of those games and the battles that we were in, it was a special time. It was a different time. And I'm still sore from some of those games going against those teams again for UConn. So a lot of fun, a lot of great memories.
And I thought when we were at UConn shoot-around this morning that you try to block some of Kevin Ollie's shots as he was playing around at one end as his team was warming up. You fought the urge, though, and you stayed here at the table.
Well, we joke, we're too sore and old now. We just don't want to pull any hamstrings or Achilles. So the quick movements definitely are not a good thing for us anymore.
A steal for Adams. Ahead to Christian Vital for the layup. UConn in total control now.
And they've gotten it done with their defense. They've gotten stops when they've needed to. And then Jalen Adams, again, going back to him, he is the leader of this team. And he is the guy that makes them go on the offensive end.
Now a career high for Vital with 17. Holston, that was halfway down. And it's going UConn's way. Well, for South Florida, this was supposed to be a step forward this season. Instead, it's turned into another one in the opposite direction. Players dismissed. Jamal McMurray, their outstanding young talent, deciding to transfer in December. Orlando Antigua fired in January. Something that Antigua said when he was hired, South Florida is a sleeping giant of a program. This is a school that has, of course, being in Tampa, it's beautiful. It has the facilities. The Sun Dome was renovated just 5 years ago. Practice facility updated as well. You look on the football side of things, USF won 11 games last year. So we take a look at the practice facility here in Tampa for South Florida. It's everything you would want from a recruiting standpoint. How do they get this thing going?
Well, I think, you know, a lot of times, and again, I've talked about this, obviously Orlando Antigua is a friend, and you have to get lucky sometimes. Now, you know, again, I'm not getting into all the other stuff, but certainly all the physical tools are here. It's a beautiful campus, obviously great facility. We take a look at their practice facility. They just really had a lot of unfortunate events happen, and I think they need to have one or two good positive things happen, obviously on and off the court for them, but certainly they have all the things that you said that you need to build this thing into a winner.
South Florida went to the NCAA tournament 5 years ago, just a game away from the Sweet 16. Murray Bartow, the interim coach, is a man with NCAA tournament experience. This acts as an audition for the permanent job. He wants to get back to the head coaching level on a permanent basis. He was out of the game last year, decided to travel across the country, see some good friends. Steve Alford at UCLA, who he coached at Indiana under Bob Knight. Tad Boyle at Colorado, among others. He said he studied the game, spent a year away. Says he worked out a lot too. He's in good shape for his age. And he won't talk about this being an audition. He says, I'm just focused on the next practice, the next game. And that's the right thing to say. But you know, Bartow would love a shot at being the head coach at a program like South Florida.
Oh, yeah, and obviously it's not an easy situation to take over or step into, you know, however you want to put it. But you know, certainly, again, you really first and foremost think about the young men that are out here in uniform for USF. And, you know, they've continued to battle, and obviously not an ideal situation for them at all.
The good thing is the players do love Bartow, and that's genuine. They appreciate how comfortable he was around them from the very beginning as an assistant. Gino Thorpe says it's like he's been coaching us for years. And it was a week at the time, very early in the season. Turnover for UConn. Well, after Lakers and Blazers tonight, don't miss SportsCenter at night. Stan and Neil have you covered. Highlights and breakdowns from the NBA, NHL, college hoops. Of course, looking ahead to Super Bowl 51 and much more. SportsCenter at night after the NBA doubleheader on ESPN. Also streaming live on the Watch ESPN app and ESPN. So 90 seconds left here.
Rodney Purvis took a basketball to the back of the head, it looked like. A wild pass by USF and hit him. He really wasn't expecting it.
Adams, the lob to Brima. Happened early in the game, and it's an exclamation point here.
Well, Jalen Adams, although people may not call him a traditional point guard, his basketball IQ, from what I've seen tonight, really has been impressive. We talked about it, 11th in all of college basketball, came into this game, 6.7 assists, close to 7, but he's double-digit assists. I think that was his 13th assist for the night.
And a timeout with 51.1 to go, and you see Murray Bartow coaching to the very end. No matter what's on the scoreboard, he's trying to make sure that this team improves no matter the situation they're in. And yes, it's going to be another loss. He'll be 0-6 as the interim head coach after tonight. Michael Noyes, former walk-on, now on scholarship for UConn, is in the game, along with a walk-on in Christian Foxen. Here's Noyes, senior from Granby, Connecticut. Knocks in from Rocky Hill. Vitale, could it be 6 threes? No. And the shot clock is turned off as Holston brings it across. And Holston just lost it out of bounds. Holston's led the way with 15 points for South Florida, 3 threes on his ledger. USF applies a little bit of pressure, but Connecticut makes it back to 500 in conference play. Started 0-3 in the American. They're now at 4-4 as Kevin Ollie's team runs away with it in the second half. 81-60, the final score. South Florida drops to 0-8.
Well, it's impressive for UConn. It starts with Jalen Adams. He was impressive on the offensive end for UConn. He's the key guy for them. He set people up all night for open looks, and it was an impressive win on the road for UConn.
Adams ending up with 20 points and 12 assists. Coming up, Malcolm Huckabee will talk with UConn head coach Kevin Ollie. But first to the studio, Brendan and Dino.
Okay, Ted, thanks very much. We'll get you back out to Tampa in a moment. First, a look ahead at what's happening on ESPNU next. 13 minutes from tip between Georgia and Alabama from Athens. J.J. Frazier, one of the leaders for the Bulldogs. They've lost 2 of their last 3 games, including in the most strange way possible against Texas A&M. We'll talk more about that in a moment. First, UConn. It was a close ball game at halftime, a 2-point game, and they blow them out in the second half. What was the difference?
Well, I'll tell you what, this UConn team is coming along, Brendan, and one area where they are coming along is on the offensive side of the ball. They're a better offensive team. Kevin Ollie's teams always defend, and we know they lost a lot of personnel throughout the season. Altery Gilbert, they lost. Laurier, they lost. So this is a team that's just still finding itself. And Kevin Ollie, you're seeing what he could do, where they started and where they're sitting right now. In conference. But I think Jalen Adams was just special today. 20 points, 12 assists, and like our colleague said, got everybody else involved. He was finding guys. UConn did a great job of attacking the zone early. They went inside out, and when they needed to, Jalen Adams got into the gaps of zone, found other guys, created for others. But I'll say this, Murray Bartow's doing a really nice job with this South Florida team. They play hard, they compete. They're better on the defensive end of the floor. You're seeing improvement. It's just not manifesting itself in wins.
UConn pulling away in the second half. It was just a 2-point game. Meanwhile, we want to get you back down to Tampa because Kevin Ollie is standing by with Malcolm Huckabee. The UConn Huskies now 4-4 in American Conference play. Malcolm, back to you.
Kevin, you guys got an 81-60 win on the road. How were you guys able to do it in this game tonight?
I think we really came out in the second half and really played with passion, played with heart, got 10 steals. Jalen was our catalyst, getting another double-double, 20 points, 12 assists, but everybody chipped in. Christian Vitale was big off the bench with his career high. Rodney got it going in the second half, and for us to shoot 12 or 20 from the three-point line, I'll take that all day.
Going back to Jalen Adams, he was impressive tonight. What was his mindset, and what was your message to him coming into this season?
Attack, attack, attack. You know, take pride in your defense. And he's been off and on with that. But tonight he was locked in on the defensive end. He was locked in on the offensive end, and we feed off of that. Amita was great on the back end. Our bigs are playing tremendous. And then we really got off to a good start. I thought we relaxed a little bit, but the second half, we really played UConn basketball.
Kevin, congratulations. Safe travels back.
Thank you, man.
All right, back to you guys.